This is a HeadGum podcast.
Folks, it's time to get Quip. Me and Joe do it. It makes toothbrushing easy. Brushing your teeth, just like making love. The kind of thing you don't really know if you're doing it right till you start doing it right. And folks, Quip is brushing done right. It's the new electric toothbrush that packs just the right amount of vibrations into a slimmer design at a fraction of the cost of bulkier traditional electric brushes. It has guiding pulses that alert you when to switch sides, making brushing just the right amount of effortless. It's true, you really don't have to think about it. It lets you know when to move on to another quadrant of your mouth. Quip also comes with a mount that suctions right to your mirror and unsticks to use as a cover for hygienic travel anywhere, whether it's going in your gym bag or your carry-on. And because the thing that cleans your mouth should also be clean, Quip's subscription plan, or subquiption plan, surprised they didn't think of that, I'll have to let them know, refreshes your brush on a dentist-recommended schedule. They deliver new brush heads every 3 months for just $5, including free shipping worldwide. Quip's backed by a network of over 10,000 dental professionals, including dentists, hygienists, and dental students. Most toothbrushes don't get named one of Time Magazine's best inventions of the year, but Quip did. It's time to find out for yourself why. Quip starts at just $25, and if you go to getquip.com/CU right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/CU. GETQUIP.com/CU. Folks, it's going to be love at first brush.
Welcome to another fine edition of We'll See You in Hell, the podcast about horror, sci-fi, and fantasy films. We review, we commentate, we bitch. To my left is my dear friend and co-host, Mr. Patrick Walsh.
Hello, folks. Welcome to We'll See You in Hell. Today we'll be talking about the Season 2 premiere of perhaps the hottest thing in horror, sci-fi, fantasy right now, Stranger Things. And now on with the show. And also on with the show!
That was a good one. You got up there.
There's a little more than a feeling key change on that one.
Yes.
Close my eyes and she slipped away. Right?
Do you ever feel that I'm slipping through your fingers?
No, I feel like I've pretty much got you. Joe today proposed that we hang out basically from 9 a.m. till 2 a.m. I said, Joe, I got other things to do, but we're having a nice hang.
I did. I kept adding things to the hang. I said, let's. Well, here's where it all started, because we went to a wedding yesterday, and we were supposed to we were going to stay over at the wedding, and then come home this morning. Today's Sunday, and I said, why don't we record the podcast during the week? Because Sunday we're not going to really feel like recording. We're going to be probably hungover and stuff from the wedding. And Pat said, "Now let's record on Sunday. Keep the party popping." So we were originally supposed to have this full 48-hour experience together, but then we ended up not staying at the wedding, going to our separate homes last night. We got up today. I still wanted to have the party pop.
Sure.
In some way. So I said, let's record and then go maybe to a bar or something. And I said, why don't we also get lunch beforehand? And
go to the county fair. Maybe you win me a stuffed animal.
I had to eventually just admit to Pat that I was lonely.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing, like, 10 years ago when I'd meet a girl that I liked at a bar or whatever, and then she'd go, hey, we should hang out sometime. Maybe we kiss, make out at the end of the night or something. Gives me your number. And then the next day I'd wake up and be like, hey, I'm up. Nothing to do today. I was
Yeah.
thinking maybe we grab breakfast and then we could go over and see a movie. And then
Right.
I actually have a Six Flags season pass if that interests you. And then perhaps a second movie. I have concert tickets at 8 p.m. And then, of course, I would never see the girl again.
Right.
It's called Coming On Too Strong. But, folks, I ask you, who doesn't want someone to, like, talk to you, make out a little bit, and the next day you're like, let's hang out all day? It's being branded as clingy or scary. I was just a lonely man who wanted some friendship.
Right. Well, the fact that you'd be proposing it to her as she walked home and you were following her.
Right, sure.
That's what would freak her
Dick
out.
in hand. But
But I mean, in a relationship like this, there is no scaring away. We're deep in.
that's very true.
So
Too deep in, some would say.
Yeah, this is a marriage of sorts.
Yeah,
A love affair, if you will.
I will.
And you can, you can't spend too much time with your better half. So
Joe
Here
was
we are.
driving me and my better half home last night, 10 p.m., massive traffic jam on the highway. I think we've hit it, even more so than normal, hit a real low point of love and respect for the Los Angeles area. Would you agree?
yeah. We I don't think we said one positive thing all day yesterday.
No.
Driving around this town, these people that we live around, the traffic, the heat, the goddamn weather, everything. It's just
90 degrees and sunny. We're 3 days out from Halloween. You know, Heather's like, maybe we watch a scary movie tonight. I'm like, who even gives a shit?
yeah.
It's not Halloween.
This is goddamn Fletch weather.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't Gremlins weather. It's just there's no spirit in anything.
No.
This is dead people. We live. Oh God.
I don't know that the world's much better. I think we're hitting just a real low point.
Or
my eyes are more open than they ever were. And it's always been this bad, but I don't think so.
I can see clearly now.
Rent's gone.
I've pinpointed it. It's not. Here's what it is. The world is terrible.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
The United States, one of the probably more terrible places in the world.
Easily.
Sure.
Getting worse all the time.
The entertainment business, the rottenest business in the world.
Outside of politics, yeah. And it's close.
We live in Hollywood.
Yeah.
We are the tiniest of the Russian dolls. We are in the eye of the storm right now. We are at the epicenter of evil.
That's true.
So that's why it's so miserable. That's why I can't go on. I'm going to have to move somewhere at some point. But until I make it in this business, which could be never.
You were trying to explain to me right before we started recording, but why did you push Harvey Weinstein to do what he did? And to keep doing it.
Quite frankly, I didn't like he was having a nice run, and I was jealous.
Yeah.
And I thought, I got to take this guy down a peg somehow.
Okay.
So I said, Harvey, I got 2 words for you. Potted plant. And I ran with it.
Yeah.
And so did he, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was it.
I got to tell you, and I know he wouldn't mind because it's so funny it needs to be shared, but
Harvey Weinstein?
our friend David Krumholtz,
Yes.
actor, you know him if you don't know the name, you look him up and you know him. He's in my television program, and we text each other. I texted him the other night, exact same question. Why did you encourage Harvey Weinstein to do what he did? Walk me through the steps.
Right.
He wrote back immediately, like as if he had this text ready to go. And this is fake, folks, obviously. Met him in 90. This was so funny to me. I kept reading it and laughing and laughing. Met him in 96 while shooting Aang's The Ice Storm. He was shy, but he took up plenty of space, both literally and figuratively. He was a presence. Booming, bassy voice, the face of a Lower East Side horse manure collector, hiding a brilliance so readily apparent to anyone with a soul. He was sad, lost. I spoke with him at length. All I said was, fuck everything that moves. Wasn't sure if he even heard me. I regret having any part in hurting those women, but I've been hurt too. I lost my friend, my pupil, my obvious successor. Where do I turn now? I can't stress enough that text came back within about 30 seconds.
Wow, that's very funny.
And folks, I know there's nothing funny about Harvey Weinstein or what happened, but as I always have, you got to laugh so that you may not cry.
Well, also, too, we're not making fun of what he did. We're making fun of a guy making up a ridiculous scenario which he's going to be his successor. That's funny.
That's true.
Put anybody's name in there, it would have been funny.
What do you think's going to happen with the company? Just fold it up? Because Bob's hands aren't clean. I'll tell you that much right now.
Bob's hands can't be.
They're coming for Bob.
Nobody's hands are clean. And I keep saying this, and I'll fucking say it again. This will be a nice moment for everybody that ever got mad at our Trump bashing on this podcast.
Yeah.
For everybody that crucifies any right-wing politician who took money from the NRA at some point in their campaigning lives, why don't you go crucify Miss Sweet Hillary and Obama right now for taking money from a fucking, at the very least, sexual assaultist, and at the worst, potentially a rapist. It's like everybody, all the articles are out now, Tom Hanks being one of the biggest voices, everybody has said the same thing. They all knew.
Yeah.
They all knew. And you should be really disappointed in Hillary, because talk about a woman who twice now in her life has benefited from the success and power of a man close to her that has accosted women. Twice now she's done it. And she's supposed to be the feminist icon. She's supposed to be the wave of the future and all this stuff. She has twice now kept her goddamn mouth shut and turned her head while men she needed to benefit from did disgusting and despicable things. So that's the truth. There is no discussion. There is no argument. And I just want you to see that we have a fair and balanced podcast.
You think she's kind of the Carmela Soprano here?
I almost thought you said the Krumholtz. Yeah, she's 100%. It's funny you say that, because the analogy in my head is always Goodfellas. She's Karen.
Sure.
When the FBI is going, don't give me the baby in the woods routine, Karen.
Yeah.
Your voice is on those tapes. We heard you on those wiretaps.
Yeah.
It's that. It's that.
Yeah.
It's like, stop. It's like, I'm so tired of it, man.
Yeah.
Everybody is so full of shit. So let's just start calling everybody on their bullshit. Let's stop picking and choosing who gets called on their bullshit. How about that?
Tarantino comes out, a week later. I don't know. To me, it's odd that everyone needs to release an official statement about everything that happens.
It's psychotic.
Like, I didn't tweet for about 3 weeks. I know you're off Twitter, but I didn't do it. And every time something new and horrible would happen, I would be like, if I don't say that I hate women being sexually assaulted right now, am I the problem? Because people will say, if you remain silent, it's as bad as sexually assaulting someone. It isn't, and it isn't by about 1 billion%. But what am I supposed to do? Tweet, hey, I also don't like sexual assault? But they're mad about Tarantino because they're best friends, or good friends. Then Tarantino says, I never knew anything about it. Then 2 days later, he says, you know what, I knew about it.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? You don't have a publicist? Clearly, he put it out, and then he was like, you know what, fuck. Somebody's going to find out that I tag-teamed a woman with Harvey Weinstein once.
Look,
like, it looks so much more guilty than if he hadn't said a word.
I love Tarantino's films as much as the next guy, but let's not pretend for a minute like he's a stable individual.
No.
I mean,
Then I saw Joe, and
he's out of his fucking mind.
This churned my stomach too. This actress puts up, and everyone starts retweeting this thing like it's an amazing story about how Tarantino. She's an actress who I don't know her name, and she hadn't been in anything that I know. I'm speaking nothing ill about her as a person. I don't know her. I don't even know her name. But she tweets this story that got a ton of traction. About 5 years ago, I was walking down Beverly, and Quentin Tarantino pulled up alongside me in a car. He asked me to get into the car. This is a woman just walking down the street. He asked me to get into the car and discussed an upcoming role with me right there on the side of the road. I feel I need to say that he did nothing inappropriate to me. He didn't make any sexual advances on me. And I'm like, what? Why are you coming to his defense? Because he's not being accused of anything.
Right.
B, yeah, a movie director pulling over on the side of the road and asking you to get into your car. I'm thrilled and glad and relieved that nothing happened to you. But A, don't get into that car. And B, Tarantino's hands aren't clean there either. That's a creepy fucking thing to do. You can say, hey, because clearly it's about her looks. He didn't know who she was. He could say, hey, you're very beautiful. Would you like to go to a coffee shop and discuss the thing? I don't want to make you uncomfortable. You know, you got to say, get into my car on the side of the road.
Maybe he did say that. I don't know.
Maybe he did.
But I'm not. Look, I'm
just
not.
This thing to say like, hey, before you all jump down Tarantino's throat, he didn't rape me once, and I was in his car for 5 minutes.
And this is why I say
it's nuts.
This is
the bar.
This is why. This is why I say these public this culture of public statements is out of control and it's become psychotic.
Yeah.
Everybody is not doing it for the right reasons.
No.
Obviously.
No.
That fucking thing where that girl or that woman, excuse me, tweeted about David Cross.
Oh yeah.
Making like the racial joke. Now look,
10 years ago.
If he did that. Yeah, okay, that sucks. Like, be offended by it. Like, nobody's saying you shouldn't be. But the fact that she has to do it on Twitter, okay, because God forbid anything is not a fucking public, public consumption trial these days. Not only she does it on Twitter, then everybody starts attacking him on Twitter, and she goes, well, I don't support or condone anybody publicly attacking Mr. Cross right now. And it's like, well, then why did you do this on Twitter?
Yeah. By the way, who wound up being attacked more was his wife, Amber Tamblyn, who was a very, very outspoken against all this Weinstein stuff, as she should be. And it was like, hey, you going to stick with your husband now that you've heard this? She got 1,000 at things. Until finally, Amber Tamblyn, who I know nothing about Amber Tamblyn. I'm just telling you a story of what I saw happen online. She now has to get on Twitter and say, Charlene Yee, I believe your story about what my husband said. I believe you. Please stop holding women accountable for their partner's actions. I believe that my husband did this. I am staying with him. Here's why I'm staying with him. I believe this happened. It's a terrible thing that happened. I'm like, why do all of you need to make statements here?
Right.
What's happening?
Well, then, and even in David Cross's...
Don't make racist jokes to people. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But like, what's going on here?
And then even in David Cross's apology...
Yeah, which was not a good apology.
Well, but because... Here's why it wasn't good. Because you will get crucified for anything you say that's out of script.
Yes.
The perfect script. So his first thing is like, I can't believe I have to do this. I don't remember doing that. This sounds way out of character. Now, look, whether he did it or not, I can't speak to.
Right.
I'm speaking to the intent of what that first apology was from him.
Yeah.
And the intent clearly was...
By the way, I've long heard the man is an asshole. You know,
well,
I don't know him at all.
He may well be. I don't fucking know the guy. But my point is clearly the point of his first apology was, I don't think I did this. I don't remember doing this. And even when he's trying to say that, he has to say, I'm not saying you're lying.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't just goddamn talk anymore.
No.
You just can't. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man. You know, and it's just everything is at the hands of it's children, and it's either literal children or mental children. But anybody that wants to, you know, that thinks that we all should just be part of this pile on social media in 140 characters, whatever, it's childish.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop it.
Well, this is a group of comedians, by the way, and I can imagine, especially with alcohol, a situation where Cross, who's used to pushing the envelope in his comedy, makes an off-color racist joke that there's fake racist jokes that happen in writers' room stuff all the time. I'm not saying they're great either, but they happen and everyone laughs because you're sort of making fun of racism. Maybe that was happening here. I don't know. Maybe he was being a racist asshole. I've heard he's an asshole. I just said that. I don't know him. But
I don't think
what I'm saying is...
I would imagine David Cross is not a racist.
I would imagine he's not as well.
Yeah.
But who knows? When they start saying, hey, Amber Tamblyn, I can't believe I'm talking about these people this much because I don't
nuts.
even know. You have to because it's in the news every day. Hey, Amber Tamblyn, I know you've spoken out against rape and sexual assault. What are you going to do about your husband now? So suddenly in the same breath, these things are made the same.
It's too much.
A racist joke is unquestionably horrible, we don't know the context or what happened or if it was something taken the wrong way, or we don't know. We weren't there. But in the same breath to be like, oh, you don't like rape. Are you going to divorce your husband because he made a racist joke to someone? Are they both bad? Yes. Are they both equal? Absolutely not.
Yeah, and just for anybody,
absolutely not.
For anybody listening that might think we're going down some sort of put up or shut up or victim shaming thing, or whatever the fuck it is you want to call it, we're not. What we're saying is the people that have been raped and assaulted, this is incredibly fucking insulting to them.
I agree.
People that have gone through the harshest tragedy. It's all tragic. But people have gone through the harshest tragedies. Okay? And I am a person that believes rape is worse than murder because you have to live with it if you're victimized by it.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible. Okay? Sexual assault is horrible. Being manipulated because of your gender is horrible. All right? So can we not start putting every single thing in that same category? Because it fucking sucks for the people. It's just disrespectful to the people that the equivalent thing I keep saying is like, I've had many club bookers tell me you're white, you're another white guy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that racist by definition? Yeah, of course it is. However, am I going to go up to a black person and be like, dude, I get it. Your grandfather was a slave. I get it. Your great grandfather. I totally get it. Yeah. You got called slurs today when you want. I get it. Right. I'm not going to do that. It's disrespectful to a much more tragic situation.
And I don't think, because as you said, you can't talk anymore. I don't think that Charlene Yee even said. I know for a fact she didn't suggest these two are comparable, but
no, she didn't.
The online mob mentality makes them in one breath equal, and I find it really fucked up.
My only gripe with Charlene was not that she was upset about this, was not that she had a problem with it, was not that she wanted to mention it. My only problem with her was that she did it publicly and turned it into this public shit show. Okay, fine. If that's the way you want to handle it, then at least commit to it. But then to start to backpedal and go, well, I don't condone it. It's like bullshit. You fucking knew this was going to happen. This is what you wanted to happen. You wanted people to cast stones at him. That's why you did this publicly. Own it. I'm so tired of people not owning their shit. Just own your shit. Be like, yeah, this is what I fucking wanted. Yeah. And maybe now it's going a little farther than I thought. Maybe I feel a little weird. Shit. Maybe I need to say, Cross, sorry about that. That's my bad.
Right.
I don't know, but like, just own, at the very least, own your shit, and that's my only beef with her. If that happened, I felt bad for her. It sucks. The initial thing, I mean.
Sure.
Anyway, Pat, this is what happens when we do this without drinking.
Folks, how about we take a little trip to Pat's movie corner?
Now, you don't want to, if I poured you a drink, you wouldn't drink it right now.
I'm not in the mood now.
Will you get in the mood today at some point?
Yeah, probably.
All right. I mean, I'm not in the mood either, but I feel dead inside.
Well, that's a problem. If you feel dead inside without alcohol, that's a problem.
No, I'm saying I feel dead inside right now.
Yeah.
This conversation, let's lighten it up.
I feel dead inside always, but I hope it's not because of drinking.
It's not because of it, but drinking does help it.
It certainly helps. Yeah. Folks, I saw a great documentary I was just telling Joe about called Too Funny to Fail, the story of the Dana Carvey show. It's on Hulu. This is a show that in my very formative comedy years, I could not have been more excited about. I loved Mr. Carvey, and it was a very, very weird show. The writing staff was Louis C.K., Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, Dino Stamatopoulos, Robert Smigel, Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and Being John Malkovich. I have heard it said always that Dave Chappelle was on the writing staff, but I did not see him anywhere on this special, so maybe he didn't feel comfortable. I don't know. But
I'm sure they would have mentioned his name.
Yes. It was a dark, weird show. It opened with they all just kept saying if Carvey had just done the church lady, done his impressions, it would have been the biggest show of its time. He was a massive star. They thought he was going to take over for Letterman. But his first sketch, he played Bill Clinton breastfeeding a litter of puppies with 8 very realistic fake nipples on his chest.
Why?
Very strange, and I don't know. But that was the first sketch. They talked to like the head of ABC at the time because it came on after Home Improvement. And he talked about how they did like the minute-to-minute ratings and how every minute was a drop-off of like 600,000 people. And it kept getting worse and worse. They did this show called Granny Clown, which was an old woman in a full clown makeup. And she comes out on a walker and starts lecturing the kids about how death is coming. And then eventually they set a cream pie in front of her. And this actual 80-year-old woman in sad, wrinkled clown makeup lowers her face into the cream pie slowly and then slowly pulls her face out of the cream with it all over her. And the kids look traumatized. This was on at 7:30 p.m. when I was a kid. And I loved it. And, you know, to say it was a huge comedic influence on me, it was on for 6 weeks, so it's hard to say that. It's hard to say that. But it was one of my first tastes of like real weird comedy because it was on ABC.
Sure.
I was like, holy shit. It was way beyond SNL, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's how the Ben Stiller show and the Kids in the Hall were for me.
Similar thing, yes.
Yeah.
The documentary is great. There's a lot of funny stories. Some of the people you want to talk are not in it, but they got Carell and Colbert. And the funniest part, as I was telling Joe, is they show an actual promo for the show. And Dana Carvey insisted every week on having a sponsor and calling it like the Mountain Dew Dana Carvey show. And then they would make fun of the sponsor brutally.
Right.
And sponsors, of course, were pulling out and furious. So they showed this preview for Wednesday's episode, and it goes...
Of Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. And it's Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and he goes, because sometimes I want to die, Dad. I just want to die. And the promo says, on a very special Home Improvement, we talk about teen suicides. And it says, followed by the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey Show. And they show this to Colbert, and he has tears streaming down his face laughing. And they all admit, even Smigel, who is a very cold, dark man, a very funny man, but he was like, I had never seen Home Improvement. So 5 weeks in, I'm like, I might as well watch what our lead-in is. And then he said he felt so bad for all the families that had to watch his show, and he was like ashamed of it.
That's great.
It's a great documentary.
Good.
I also watched the first 4 episodes of David Fincher's Mind Hunters. It's not right to call it that because he only directed a couple episodes, and it has a writer and et cetera. But it feels Finchery. It felt a lot like Zodiac. It's about like the early days of tracking serial killers, 70s.
And not enough is Finchery these days.
That's true.
You know?
I love Fincher.
Yeah.
He did a hell of a job. It's a beautiful looking show. It's kind of a cast of unknowns. It had a Zodiac feel. Zodiac's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm loving it. I'm 4 in, and I actually slowed.
Zodiac is one of your favorite movies of all time?
Absolutely. There was a period where I watched it once a week for a year.
Psychotic.
Check it out again.
I've seen it.
Check it out again.
It's a 3-hour slog.
I absolutely love
watching
the
Robert Downey Jr. die slowly.
It's a movie. It's a
good
movie
film,
about obsession.
Obsession.
You know,
we all have our obsessions.
We
that
all
was
have
what
our
the poster
obsessions.
said.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
Yeah. Sorry. Good.
I love it, and it's one of the few shows in ages where I actually said I'm going to take a step back and wait a few days because I want to make this last. I really enjoyed it, and it's about the early days of serial killing. The guy who steals the show is not Jonathan Groff, the guy from Looking, who's the star of the show. It's his partner, and I wish I knew his name, but it's like this 50-year-old Sizemore type dude who was so good on the show, and this 6'5", 350-pound serial killer that they keep interviewing, who's done all this fucked up shit, and he's like really charming. And
Oh, that's cool.
I love the show. I really do, and I think
Okay.
I saw on the Facebook page some of you are watching it. Maybe we'll do an episode on it. But that's it. I think that's all I saw. Joe.
I got 2. Well, 3, but one I'm going to hold my comments on. I saw The Snowman, which we're not going to talk about yet because I want Pat to see it so we can do an episode.
I better
about
move fast because I think it can't open in like 14th place.
You got to get in there quick.
I'll
If
go.
for nothing else, the Val Kilmer performance.
All right.
Which is I don't know what the fuck.
What is he playing?
An Icelandic alcoholic detective.
Okay. Have you ever seen Val Kilmer in At First Sight playing a blind man?
I remember the movie. I never watched it though.
That's a performance you need to see as well.
All right, fair enough.
Kilmer, by the way, speaking of all these accusations, accused this week of a woman who was auditioning for a role in The Doors in 1990. He punched her in the face during the audition, and they have video. He paid her some. He paid her some $1 million non-disclosure.
Yeah,
she's like, I'm breaking it.
Yeah, that's he did the, he was doing that whole like, I am Morrison.
Yeah.
What would Morrison have done? That new documentary is about to come out about where it's all the behind the scenes footage from Man on the Moon.
Want to see it? With
Jim Carrey playing Kaufman. Jim Carrey is such a fuck anymore. The whole thing is about how they didn't want this footage to come out at the time of the movie because everybody was going to think he was an asshole.
Right.
Because he got so deep into the character and he was doing all this Andy Kaufman shit to people.
Right.
And obviously pissing a lot of people off, but he felt like he had to live it or whatever. So fine, whatever. And he's like, Andy, all through the trailer and the preview, and it was Andy, and I wanted to spirit and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it cuts the title, and the movie's called not Andy and Jim, but Jim and Andy. It's just like you put it alphabetically, Andy and Jim. Put it appropriately, Andy and Jim. This is about Andy Kaufman, not Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's.
So is this like footage of him on set, like screaming at people and stuff?
Yeah, some of it in the trailer is pretty crazy. I want to see it.
I'd like to rewatch Man on the Moon. I liked it. I wasn't blown away by it, but
I own it. I enjoy the film.
Yeah, it's a good film.
Anyway, so so what did I see that I can't talk about? I saw American Made, Tom Cruise's new picture. Loved it. Cruise, charismatic and charming as always. It's a story we've heard a million times. The government hired me to do a thing. It's kind of illegal, but it's the government. So, hey, that's fine, right? Then they won't fuck me. Then they fuck me. And then, it goes crazy. And, you've seen it. Lord of War, War Dogs, all that shit. But this was a movie I expected to just be a sort of beat for beat retelling of a story I've heard many times. And I actually found it very interesting and very funny. It's really funny.
All right.
It's really, really fucking funny.
Why was it so slept on? I guess America's done with Cruise.
No, it's very well reviewed. It's got like an 85%.
It's a bomb, though. Just a complete bomb.
It's a small
movie. Maybe
movie.
Overseas it makes money.
It's a small movie. I mean, it's not a big, flashy movie. Most of the actors in it I've never seen in anything except for Domhnall Gleeson and Tom Cruise. Everybody else, you're just kind of like... the lady that plays his wife, I've never seen her ever. The people that play, the only other person I recognize in it, the kid from Get Out that plays the brother, and he's the cokehead in Twin Peaks. He shows up once again playing like a fucking spastic, like scumbag that can't be trusted.
Right.
He's so good at that. Kind of role, and clearly he's just like, look, they're giving them to me. I'm going to keep taking them.
Like, why wouldn't you? Just watch Get Out again. Best movie of the year, I would say.
Yeah, he's great.
Better on a second viewing.
I got to see it again. I love it though. Anyway, so I saw that, and the only other thing I've really seen, I got to tell you, I'm about 6 seasons deep into Perfect Strangers. It's on Hulu. Every night at dinner, I put on a couple episodes.
Can I ask, are you laughing out loud at it?
Oh, a lot of it makes me laugh out loud. It's in those formative years, the shit I was watching before a Dana Carvey show opened my mind was my favorite show was Perfect Strangers and Alf. Couldn't get enough of either. And Mama's Family. I was never a huge Alf guy. I did like Mama's Family as a kid, and
watched an episode. They're showing it now on like 13 or something.
I went and looked at the DVDs after we discussed it the other night in the bar. They went $90 for this fucking thing. It's like, it's Mama's Family.
I should have bought. Well, no, you can see it on Channel 13. Bird cage with a parrot telling them clues about how to find gold was the plot of the episode I saw.
Yeah, the perfect every episode of Perfect, except for season 1, they're kind of just finding the footing of like, here are these two guys forging this weird new relationship, and then after that, every episode is literally like Balky gets an opportunity. Larry's like, Balky, here's how things work in America.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, it's Mark Lynn-Baker just destroying everything. Like, they have so many episodes where by the end of the episode, the apartment is just littered with holes in the wall and everything because they're looking for like a lost poem or something. And the walls, like from a poet that lived there. It's ridiculous, but it's great. It's very fun.
Lynn-Baker steals the show.
Yeah, and it's very much. I never noticed this as a kid. It's very much a throwback to old. You know, that sort of, it's very Three Stooges. It's very like Marx Brothers.
Laurel and Hardy.
Honeymooners. It's like, you know, it's them scheming, but it's a lot of physical humor. You could tell the writers were like, this will be a great visual gag if we do this. There's one where they're like trying to change the sheets on this 350-pound man in a hospital as he's asleep. Because he's been sedated. And they just tie in this thing where it's like, Balky, like, volunteers at the hospital, so he knows this guy, and he's like, he goes, you know, he can play Simon Says while he's asleep, and you're like, what? And then it's just a gag, so they can, like, as they're trying to change the seats, Balky can keep going like, Simon Says, and then he like sits up, sleep.
That's really stupid. That's very stupid.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's funny and it works. So that's all I saw. On to the scary stuff.
Real quick, I saw one more picture. It's coming up this holiday season. Downsizing, the new Alexander Payne.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
Bad.
So you had said you thought it looked bad. It was bad.
I thought the trailer looked terrible. It's Matt Damon and Kristen Wiig decide they're going to miniaturize themselves to save money and help save the environment and move to one of these mini communities. It's a great idea and would have made a great Twilight Zone or something.
Right.
Alexander Payne, man, has lost his touch in a way.
He's gone, baby, gone. Yeah.
It was a bad movie, and it was for my Oscar consideration, so clearly they have high hopes for it. But I sure hope not. It was a bad movie, and there is a Vietnamese woman in it, which is, for my money, the most offensive character I've seen in 5 years. You know, like, she literally comes on the scene and she's, folks, I'm doing this voice because it is her voice, but I'm going to make it less offensive, and I'm telling you the truth.
Okay.
Like Matt Damon does something and she says this like 5 times to him. I thought you were just stupid, but you crazy. You crazy, man. And this audience of all white people going to see an Alexander Payne movie at an Academy Awards screening, dying laughing at this woman's broken English. I was so uncomfortable shifting in my fucking seat, and they're pushing this woman for Best Supporting Actress.
These are all people, by the way, this is an advanced screen. These are all people in the progressive entertainment business. These are all the open-minded people telling you that that they know the way and the way to live and the moral code we should all adhere to. When
I say that this woman sounded exactly like the Short Round character from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Right.
Same voice and mannerisms. Except, and this is a 1984 movie we're talking about, Temple of Doom. That was a more nuanced portrayal of an Asian American character. Short Round. Never
a good sign. The kid that played Data in Goonies gave a more nuanced performance.
Well, then what's extra... Here's a couple things that are extra gross about this. This woman is like a shrill, obnoxious, mean character. Here's a few things I'm going to just step back and look at. Alexander Payne was married for a long time to Sandra Oh. Things ended very badly, I believe, with like infidelity and problems. Then his next movie, he's got this shrill, screaming Asian American woman character. That added a whole different layer for me. And then what made it grossest to me is that the character's redeeming quality is that she loves helping people and she's very charitable. But while doing so, she's like a bitch. She's like, come on, carry my stuff, carry my stuff. And I just kept thinking, like, somebody got wind of the script and like, if you're going to have an Asian woman play this role, if I'm even going to send this out to people, you need to make her a really good person or something.
Right.
So it made it feel like it was okay to laugh because she was helping people, but I got to tell you, I didn't smile. And I think they could be in some trouble with
now,
this movie.
is the film, is there a lesson they learn that trying to save the environment by making themselves small means you also lose your emotions, get small too, and a smaller world is not necessarily a better world? Is it one of those things?
Yeah, well, it's trying to have that kind of Capra feel-goody thing at the end, and you're just not feeling it at all. Damon is... Ugh. Damon sucks in it. Like, it just is not a good movie.
All right. How's Wig?
I can't say too much about Wig, about the movie, to be honest. She was fine.
What do you can't say too much because there's not much to say, or you're like hiding details?
I'm hiding details in case anyone cares about the movie, but she was fine.
All right.
Also, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you feel every minute of it.
You guys got to stop with these goddamn films. Yeah. You got to stop with these goddamn films. Stop every fucking director. Go hang a painting at the fucking Met.
Yeah.
All right? Go get something and put it up in the Getty or whatever. It's like, stop. That's one thing I'll say now about The Snowman. It's, the director's defense of the film was, we just ran out of time and money. Okay. And you just realize we just couldn't we couldn't get everything done we needed to. And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have spent 2 days on the shot of the license plate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there are so many masturbatory shots in this film that do nothing to advance the story. Nothing except.
How did Scorsese come on as a producer of this thing?
They look visually appealing. That's it. And it's like,
right.
You didn't because you were so busy jerking yourself off, you didn't get your goddamn movie done, and now it sucks. It probably would have sucked anyway, to be honest. It's just a dumb storyline. But
do they replace the heads with snowman heads or pack the heads in snow?
Well, you'll have to wait and see, Pat.
All right.
But
anything to recommend about it?
Yeah, Val Kilmer's performance.
All
it's
right.
worth seeing the movie.
Right.
Yeah, you got to see it because we're going to have a goddamn trash fest on this thing over.
Sure, I'll see it.
But the one positive for me was it's the same guy that did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which was another fucking
excruciatingly boring movie.
Excruciatingly boring mess of a film.
Yeah.
Anybody that was like, "Oh, I followed it," no, you didn't.
It didn't make sense. I fell so hard asleep in that movie. It was so fucking boring.
Yeah, it's the same thing, except this time around people are like, yeah, this is bullshit, dude.
Right.
This is unnecessarily confusing. It's stupid. Like,
right.
Anyway, Joe, scary stuff. I don't have anything this week for it, really.
Wow.
I'm trying to think. Oh, no, I do. This is, as always, a product that is horror or sci-fi or fantasy related. That is not a review of a film, but a review of the product itself. And for this week, I will pick the thing that everybody's going crazy about, Super Mario Odyssey. The game's every bit as good as people thought it was going to be. The anticipation was worth it. It was well worth the wait. Game is fantastic. It's getting perfect 10 reviews almost everywhere. People are saying that Nintendo will be competing against itself this year for Game of the Year, having released both Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey just months apart. It's really great. If you have a Switch, go and get it. If you don't have a Switch, you're fucked. You'll never get to play it because they'll never port it over to the other systems, as they never do. But if you have a Switch, check it out. And I would go as far as to say it's probably worth getting a Switch for the game.
Wow.
If you're a Mario fan. If you're not, then you're not going to like it. Anyway, we're at minute 43. There's a long one today. Let's get into the movie review.
The show review is, and there will be no spoilers here. We're only talking about the pilot, not the pilot, but this episode 1, season 2 of Stranger Things.
By the way,
the boys are back.
By the way, Pat.
Yeah.
If you're worried about spoiler reviews, I was Googling the show today, season 2.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple things I couldn't remember from season 1.
Yeah.
Already. Season 2 ending explained.
Oh, okay.
All over the place.
I met a kid Friday.
I met a kid Friday night at a party who had already watched the entire thing.
Get a job, man. Jesus Christ.
Get a job.
I watched one this morning. I felt exactly how I felt about the first season in that I enjoyed it. I was left a little wanting. I didn't feel an immediate desire to watch the second one. Now, I thought, let's just hop right into it. This is, I mean, you're going to watch the first episode. Watch it, 11.
No, you said the first episode. Folks.
Didn't we know that 11 was alive at the end of season 1?
Yeah.
They left a little clue.
Yeah.
The waffle,
you
whatever.
kind of knew she was alive.
So then why was it treated as some big reveal at the end of the pilot?
Well, I think you knew she was alive. She hadn't been found.
It was unconfirmed. Okay.
So the fact that at the end of the pilot you see that she's living with the sheriff, that was a cool reveal. That actually made me smile. I thought that was very cool because I also thought they set it up really well. Where like he comes in the whole episode, he's clearly pissed off that he's not getting to fuck Winona Ryder's character. Like
Right.
he's really just sulking through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then he goes home and he grabs the beer, and you're like, oh, this guy's life sucks.
Yeah.
And then you see there's 2 dinners, and you're like, oh, that's weird. What's that? And then she comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool.
Then you realize that he's dating 11 now.
Yep. And he calls this in very poor taste, which he would frequently say, hey, 11, you want to meet 12, referring to the size of his member, which I thought they didn't need to go that far with.
I agree. I could not agree more. Now, here's what I'll say about this first episode. It looked great.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It looked great, and not only did it look great, but it did a great job of kind of capturing the 80s. Like, that the arcade being in like that aluminum siding barn type building, that's very Missouri to me. I don't even remember where the show's set, but I was
show is set in oh god damn it, Hawkins, Illinois, I think. They actually shot it in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But I think it's Illinois, I think.
That very much felt to me. I used to go to Great Skate Roller Rink, which was in like an aluminum siding barn in Missouri. Like I was like, oh, okay. Like they did a little research and stuff. And at the same time, even though it was shot great, it looked great, and they have, in theory, this attention to detail. I'm watching this thing. They're playing a video game that, and it's not hard to recreate the graphics if you need to make up a video game. They were watching an animated movie.
No, that's a real video game. That's Dragon's Lair.
That's a real video game, and that's how it looks?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well,
that's why everybody was so nuts about it. That was actually a pretty great.
It didn't even look like you could play it. It looked like we were just watching it happen.
It was a game of cutscenes essentially, where you'd watch the animated scene play out, and they would move very quickly.
Yeah.
And a spot on the screen would illuminate, which meant you have to hit your joystick in that direction. And if you hit it correctly and on time, it would play the next scene very quickly. And if you missed it, you would die. And it was very fucking hard. And it was I believe it was the first video game to ever cost 50 cents.
Okay.
Which is why the Teeth Kid was being like, this piece of shit.
Right.
Expensive piece of shit.
Okay, well then I'm completely wrong.
Yeah.
That was an even better example of details of the period.
Yeah, no, that was actually a really great They've put that even in the trailer too, because that was a huge 80s nod. Like I was like, oh, they really nailed it. Like that is the game they should be playing.
Then I'm wrong. That looked to me to be very stupid. My only other real issue was and this this kind of thing happened in all kinds of movies back in the day. When the guy's like, I don't want you giving your rash to my sister. Acne's not a rash. Could we put one fake zit on this guy's face?
That was crazy to me.
If we're going to talk to him about having acne. What?
That was crazy
Give
to
him
me.
a zit. As a guy who was covered in zits for my formative years, it just really pisses me off. Like, oh, by the way, I guess I don't hang out with a lot of 12-year-old kids, which is good. But do kids not get acne anymore? Or is it just in LA? I have not seen a kid with acne in LA since I moved here 10 years ago. I never even thought about it.
I think it's
I
less
and all
of
my
an
friends
issue.
had so many zits on our faces.
Yeah, it's less of an issue. There's a lot of medications and things for it now, so that I think they're able to treat it better.
We grew up at the wrong
Here's
fucking
the other
time.
thing, too. That guy in the arcade
Yeah.
who's like, I want to date with your sister. He's like a 30-year-old actor.
30 years old, yeah.
He was in Lemony Snicket. He's been in a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I see him at the Trader Joe's, by the way, sometimes, shopping with his wife. It's like...
Yeah, no, he's way too old.
It's like, yeah, they got this, like, man.
Yeah.
So throw a kid into that role, maybe.
Yeah.
I will... I only have one criticism of the show, which I will save. I really enjoyed the pilot. I enjoyed it much more than I thought I was going to. I was kind of getting fatigue from all the advertising and just seeing these kids everywhere and all that. You know, it got a little tiresome. So
Feel bad for the kids, definitely.
I didn't think I was going to enjoy it that much, but I really did enjoy it.
I did too.
I thought they captured the spirit once again very well. I really like that they took it now beyond. It just looks like the 80s, and there are 80s references to them making fun of tropes from the 80s, which I thought was very funny. It was self-effacing at times. Like, I thought it was really funny when the new kid pulls up in, like, the fucking muscle car, and it's playing Rock Me Like a Hurricane, and he gets out with the cigarette, and then it does the tracking shot past the three girls. They're like, who is that? You know, I was like, that's really funny. Like,
when I did like when they said, look at it, check out his ass, and they cut to like the most average flat generic male ass I've ever seen.
I was thinking it was a bad ass. It wasn't even a good ass. It was a bad ass.
Bad to very average ass.
So anyway, I really, really liked it. I really liked seeing Winona Ryder back in action. I was as enthusiastic about that this time around as I was the first time around. Was happy to see Sean Astin in the show.
Same here.
Haven't seen him in a while. He apparently has been at the Old Country Buffet for the last...
Sean Astin for seconds.
Either that or he is drinking a 12-pack of beer every day. Like,
it was a giant stomach, yes.
Just a head like a goddamn watermelon.
Yeah.
But I love Sean Astin, and it was fun seeing
do too.
him. I got a big kick out of Paul Reiser.
Of course. I always love Paul Reiser. You know what I love Reiser in? Whiplash.
He's great in Whiplash.
You know what I love Reiser in as well? Speaking of shows that I love, Red Oaks on Amazon, the best comedy they have.
You know what I love Reiser in?
Reiser. Have you seen Red Oaks? You'd love Red Oaks. Red Oaks is Stranger Things, but for 80s comedies.
I tried to jump in the second season, and like the main kid was living in like France or something.
You need to watch the whole thing.
All right, I'll go back. I didn't know.
The first season's like Caddyshack, tons of nudity, etc.
Yeah.
Second season's a bit more of an art film, but still funny and good. And this third season's been great. I love it.
You know what I like Reiser in? The Thing About My Folks. Him and Peter Falk on that road trip, which I believe is a Zach Braff film.
No,
is it not? It's not? Somebody directed that directed something.
Oh, wait. You're talking about a recent movie.
Yeah, The Thing About My Folks.
I did not see Thing About My Folks. Because Reiser was in he was in Bye Bye Love, of course, with Randy Quaid and Matt Modine.
My favorite Daily Show joke from the Craig Kilborn era ever he said, Helen Hunt is leaving mad about you because she wants to focus more on her film career after her Oscar win is in As Good as It Gets. Paul Reiser said he wants to do the same, focus on his film career, which means making VHS copies of Bye Bye Love in his house.
Okay.
Oh, it's so mean. It's such a funny joke.
That's not nice. The Thing About My Folks was 05. That couldn't have been a Braff, could it?
No, I'm sorry. The guy that directed City Island directed The Thing About My Folks, and I love City Island.
Okay. Written by Paul Reiser, The Thing About My Folks.
I fucking love City Island. City Island is one of my favorite movies of the last few years.
That's weird. I thought it was fine.
I thought it was hilarious. But I related to the family. I was like, this reminds me of my family. It's loud. Everybody was always eating pasta.
Right.
Anyway,
Anthony LaPaglia is there.
The only thing I didn't like, my only criticism of this episode, and it's clearly going to be a plot point, and if I'm wrong, correct me on this, because this is why I started Googling the show. The goddamn building they go to get Will, the son that disappeared in the first season, treated, it's the fucking evil building from the first one. Like Paul Reiser even says at one point, those people were gone. It's the laboratory building from the first season.
So they just went back to the same place.
Thinking, well, they're all good people now.
Right.
And they're not, of course. Paul Reiser's lying, and he's setting them up for something. But
Reiser's so clearly lying from the jump, and right off the bat, he's like, we're the good guys. You know he's not. And since this movie is so obsessed with everything 80s, Reiser did this in Aliens.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which I know you hate, but...
that's interesting.
Reiser was one of the all-time great kind of like two-faced weasels in Aliens. So clearly that's why he was cast here. But I guess now, coming in for season 2, for some reason, I'm way more open-hearted to this show. I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. Last year, the hype had gotten so great, I just kind of... I could not get on board with it.
I'm going to enjoy it too. And please, let me know if I'm wrong about if it's a different building, but I don't think it is. When they show the building, it does like a dun-dun-dun.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the evil building. They're going back. So, and then it is the building because Reiser goes down to the basement and they have the fucking portal still.
Right.
I'm like, why would you... What? I don't know.
Yeah, I like the show. I always find myself wishing that the kids' dialogue was a little funnier. And I know that I thought the same thing in It. I know people find the kids hilarious. I really don't. I think they're adequate, and Toothless is funny, but...
He made me laugh a lot. Like,
they're good actors.
When he kept doing that thing where he's like, look at these choppers. That was very funny. That kid's really good. He's really funny, too, when she's like, how presumptuous. And he's like, yeah, presumptuous. Like, because he doesn't know what the word means.
Right.
And I greatly appreciated that they had the guts, because it was a funny thing with the kids as Ghostbusters when the black kid is dressed up as Venkman, and he was like, oh, I was supposed to be Winston because I'm the black guy. I thought that was funny. I was like, and he's like, I didn't say that. And he's like, well, you were thinking it. You know what I mean? It's like, it was just funny. I thought it was a very funny scene.
That might be in 2 because I watched it and don't remember.
Oh, shit. That is in episode 2.
Okay, I was going to say, surely I didn't forget that from this morning.
Sorry, in episode 2.
I was going to check myself into a hospital.
In episode 2, they dress up as the Choppers thing in episode 2?
No, that's 1.
In episode 2, on Halloween, they go to school dressed up as the Ghostbusters, and it's 4 of them.
I like that.
And the main kid, Mike, and the black kid, they both are dressed in. They both say Venkman.
Okay.
And
nobody's Winston.
No,
that seems realistic to me.
And he's like, and the main kid is like, you were supposed to be Winston, And the kid's like, nobody wants to be Winston. Like, Winston stinks. He's not even a scientist. Actually, it makes you feel bad for Ernie Hudson because they really shit on Winston.
Yeah.
But then the other kid's like, no, he's awesome. And then the kid's like, oh, I'm supposed to be Winston. Why? Because you're not black? And he's like, no, that's not what I said. And he's like, you were thinking it. It was just a funny argument. And I'm like, it's a believable. It's one of the things I like about the show. I'm like, they do portray the kids as believable 80s kids.
I agree.
Like, they're all obsessed with this new girl in school who rides a skateboard, and they just stand and stare at her. You know what I mean? And there is no part where they're like, they allude to the it's kind of creepy, but it's very innocent. And it's like, these kids are just kids. Like, this is kind of how you acted back then,
Yeah, no, I agree. I like where this new one's heading. I do.
Yeah. All right.
And I hope it lasts a while. It's fun to have this every Halloween to kind of look forward to.
And we'll revisit this after the finale and do a basic season recap. Well, once we get to it, but my point is we'll come back to this and do a season recap episode of Stranger Things 2.
Yeah.
But for now, that's where we're at, and that is our show.
Folks, I am at Twitter and Instagram at the Patrick Walsh. Doing as I got to do, putting it on your radar this January, Living Biblically, coming to CBS. Might not be January, but that's what the vibe I'm starting to get. And I think promos are going to be filmed this week, so start looking for them.
Come follow me on Instagram, Joe DeRosa Comedy. And what else?
We have our Patreon.
Oh, yeah, the Patreon.
Patreon.com/WSYIH.
Yes.
The new episode.
Pod. WSYIH Pod.
Pod. Thank you so much to all of you who have donated. Can't say it enough.
I'm floored. I'm thrilled. I'm teary. I'm touched. Yeah. It's been a very, very generous outpouring from the fans. We appreciate it. This episode, as of this episode posting, the Patreon secret or extra ep should be up.
Tomorrow's the 30th.
We said we'd do it on Halloween. We do it the day before.
The new one, should drop tomorrow or Halloween day.
And that's it.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you next time, and we'll see you.
Not so fast, Patty. I don't mean to cut you off, but we didn't forget you, patrons. We promised you shout-outs. You're getting some goddamn shout-outs. Shout-outs, excuse me. Shout-outs. Fuck it. That's how we do it around here. You can hear ice clinking in the background. That's because our dear friend Vince has arrived during the podcast, and it's Beer 30, as we say around here. Thank you, Derek Clark, hitting us with a big donation. Very sweet of you. Thank you, sir. Timmy K, Sean, and you're all special, by the way. We're not making anybody more special than anybody else. So let's start over. Derek Clark, Timmy K, Sean Florin, Dolores Martinez, Will Foley, Megan Lybrand, Scott Blickensdorfer, Alec Walker, Brett Werner, Tristan Carlson, Laura Sexton, Anthony Guajardo, Maxwell Ashcroft, Brett Klinker, that's a good one, Alex Lowe, Ethan Whittet, Weston Thomas, oh boy. Why don't you take it from here?
Weston, my apologies, but I mean I'm looking at a deep Scandinavian last name here or something. Weston Thomas Hividhild. I'm doing my best. Hividhild. Thank you, Weston. Jared Blair. Thank you, buddy. Josh Smallridge. Richie Verdugo. Chris Hopper. Emily Rosenbaum. Emily Florence, who runs our fantastic Facebook page. Thank you, Emily, for both your contribution and for running a hell of a community. Sean L., Jordan Parker, Dave Komorek, Abby Manuel. Hi, Abby. Kim D'Angelo, Michael Whitsett, Jonathan Jalot, Michael McBurnett, Carla O., Mike Willis, I believe, Stephanie Power, Hunter McDonald, Sterling Abrigo, Giron Sanderson, Diego Campos, Jake Ferrati, Stefan Mousseau, Zoe Blazkowicz.
That's not. Oh, yeah, it is. Sorry.
It seemed right when I said it.
Sorry.
Edmund Dillon, Asley Kvinsland, Dan McLeod, Brandon Gash, Lorenz Bunganiers, Alejandro Salgado. We're not laughing at your names. Some of you guys have great names.
Hold on, this one's real funny. Papa Spoosh. Hey, excuse me, I got to go into the bathroom and Papa Spoosh. Tegan McLeod. There's two McLeods on here. I wonder if they're related. Matthew Little, Tracy Reddington, Sean Thomas, Amanda Alzamora, Jason Weibel, Michael Curry, Drew Spindler. That's a dear friend. A special hello of Pat's. Andrew Koval, Sam Mitchell, Aaron Milanowski, Scott Nolan, Jack Gertz, Greg Sorensen, Benjamin Tahia, Misty Zavar, Brandon Knock, Brandon Webb, Dajne Wilford, Johnny Ferg, Matthias Pagao, Superfan Giovanni, Michael Gold, Danielle Dewar, Eric Lamora, Michael Madrigal, my dear friend who owns Mr. Suit Records in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Go check it out. It's a wonderful indie shop. Stephen Rez, Walter Keegan. I'm going to pass the mic back to Pat in a second. Kevin Marisanek.
Erica Branning, Lawrence Anderson, Jared Smallridge, Zach Schoendorf, Will Potterf, Natalie Craig, Nathan Baskett, Edmund Agabao, Anthony, just Anthony, Kyle Kinsland, Brooke Adams.
He asked us never to say his name.
I'm not saying his name, but folks, it's the best name there is. Anna Babadook, Scott Patton.
And that's it.
We mean we've already done everyone else?
Yeah, that's everybody.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, folks. We'll see you in hell.
That was a HeadGum podcast.